Forget preconceptions about soft top options for those who style care. If you're shopping for maximum center assault with the TriStar badge on the grille, nothing quite tops the 2017 Mercedes-AMG GTC Roadster, the Ram-top twin to a Falterdash's shiniest halo car, the GTR Coupe. But wait, there's more, if perhaps slightly less. AMG has also released a regular 2017 Mercedes-AMG GT Roadster, no C attached, lining up with the entry GT Coupe, bolstering the flagship super sport car range to 5 variants, if you factor in the mid-spec GTS hardtop. Softer, then, if promising the harder experience at a slightly more budget-friendly ear. Both the GT and GTC Roadsters are due in Oz around September this year. The GT will land with a list price of $284,000, while the GTC will bump the spend up to $339,000. Both prices include GST and any LCT, but exclude the usual on-road costs. As an introduction to the open-top delights on offer, we got to blast the pair's sensory excesses under the blue skies and on scorched earth of the highways and byways in Arizona, USA. That the Roadster pair pillage the parallel parts bins of their respective coupes isn't any great surprise, though there is one crucial reason as to why the king of Ben's soft tops is a C and not an R designation. The now familiar 4.0-liter bi-turbo V8 heartbeat of choice used throughout a number of high-line AMG models gets a 410 kW tune in the GTC that's 60 kW beyond the 350 kW GT trim and some 35 kW higher than the 375 kW GTS, if 20 kW short on the humongous 430 figure wrenched from the mighty GTR Coupe. So while the GTC Roadster is well off the leash, it's not completely so. And perhaps for the sake of that industry buzz phrase model positioning, in an effort to maintain the GTR's status as king of AMG's lofty performance peak. Academic differences. While the GT and GTC engines, with their direct fuel injection and hot inside the turbocharger arrangement, are largely identical, the GT produces 350 kW at 6,000 RPM, while the GTC's 410 kW clocks on lower at 5,750 RPM and holds course until a much higher 6,750 RPM. The GTC not only has a larger 680 Nm torque swing than the 630 Nm GT, with a 1,900 by 1,750 RPM spread, it's a little broader and higher in the RPM range than the base Roadster's 1,700 by 1,000 RPM. Results. The GTC takes the GT's 4.0 SEC 0-100 km/h time to lots the hefty 0.3 SEC off, which is quite some margin if low in the stopwatch stakes, arguably a fair trade for a slight penalty in thirst, a combined cycle 11 per L versus 9 per L per 100 km claimed. There's more to that 0.3 SEC advantage than merely extra outputs. The C-Spec 7-speed dual-clutch transmission gets a smaller first and shorter 7th and finer drive ratio than the GT's transmission. Meanwhile, upshifts are quicker in its exclusive race mode. An electronically controlled mechanical LSD is fitted in lieu of the GT's passive mechanical unit. There's wider rear rubber 305mm against 295mm and active rear axle steering is said to improve high-speed stability through to 316 km/h, where the GT is capped at a mere 302. Other differences. The GTC gets staggered wheel diameters 19s up front, 20s in rear and also broader front rubber 265mm V255mm together with a wider rear wheel track and larger rear bodywork to make it all fit. Result: the GTC shares the same body width as the GTR Coupe, some added 57mm in the hips compared with the slimmer GT. Brakes, too, are larger, 390mm front rotors compared with 360mm on lesser variants, though rears are a common 360mm on both ragtops. The GTC's more is more approach pays a penalty at the weighbridge. It's 1,660 kilograms curb weights and 75 kilograms heavier than GT, though clearly it's no anchor to what is superior performance according to the form guide. While we're picking details, the GTC also gets a lightweight lithium-ion battery, supple nappa leather trim and a bespoke leather flash synthetic suede steering wheel, together with a multimodal so-called performance exhaust system. Both Roadsters get the striking Pan-Am look and a grille, with some 15 vertical chrome struts, as debuted on the King of the Heat GTR. Though the quiet word is the current GT and GTS coupes will adopt this more striking front fascia as a facelift in future. Roof up or down, either version is striking in the flesh, though the jewelry-festooned GTC is clear the muscular top dog. Climbing into or out of the cabin isn't a feat enjoyed for the modest, but once inside the seating is suitably low set and there's a mix of richness and purpose about the interior design. Material and craftsmanship throughout either variant is first class, let down only fractionally by some plastics, such as the steering wheel trim, and the wheel column stalks lifted from lesser denses. The roof itself is superb. It's a three-layer design with an acoustic mat insert as sound insulation, draped over the magnesium/steel/aluminium structure. It's not load-bearing, there are integrated rollover bars in the rear bulkhead, but it lifts and stows automatically in 11 seconds at speeds of up to 50 km/h. Thanks to excellent sealing and a large, solid panel that makes to the windscreen surround just above your head, it feels all apart like a solid coupe lid once erected. Once on the move, there's virtually no white noise from the structure itself. No booming around the car as you'll experience in lesser soft-top designs. And the sound isolation properties are, frankly, remarkable. First, the GTC. At low speed and around town, the Comfort Drive mode is downright polite. With the exhaust baffles shut, it can be very quiet, though the deep, bassy thrum of the V8 is ever present. The dual-clutch gearbox is very slip and near seamless, too, and there's enough laciness tuned into the driveline in this mode to make low-speed driving a breeze. There's a touch of scuttle shake that shimmies the mirrors slightly, if only occasionally, at low speed over rough surfaces. Otherwise, structurally, the Roadster feels almost hewn from granite. Those impossibly broad Continental Sport Contact 6 tires do get their rough on at times, despite the rather cool felt-like matting in the inner wheel guard to help suppress noise. The tires do slack noticeably over square-edged road joints, which is understandable given their 265/35 front and 305/30 rear profiles. Further, it's likely that any attempt by AMG to temper the already pleasant ride further via softer joinery in the mostly billet alloy suspension structure would undoubtedly rob the intimate sense of driver connection to the road the drop-top works hard to celebrate. All that said, the ride and handling balance is very nicely struck indeed. Hampering comfort, though, isn't the GTC's main game. Instead, drop the roof, hit sport and open up the adaptive exhaust lungs and out comes the sensory overload that's crucial to the experience as promised. The top-spec version offers the further Sport Plus and Amazing Race mode not available in the GT, as well as driver-assignable individuals. And what AMG is really getting right of late is achieving tangible leaps in character, noise, urgency, promise, moving up through the modes. Sport flexes the GTC's muscles markedly, though only enough to provide real purpose around town, on the open road or on the highway. There's nothing manic about it, but dig in and the two-seater will happily eat straights or curves with a healthy appetite. And yet it never drops the refinement ball while doing so. The powertrain remains assertive without ever becoming manic or too highly strung. I put about 150 kilometers of balanced normal driving under the GTC's wheels heading north out of Phoenix towards the mountains surrounding the town of Prescott, home to some of the best twisty roads in this neck of the West Coast woods. The kinds of roads you need to uncork the properly heroic Sport Plus mode. The first rise is a succession of constant radius double-lane sweepers, and here the GTC sits impossibly flat and planted, generating impossible grip while tracking like it's on rails. It'll whip up a heady pace even at park throttle, and neither end of the car will butt off a chosen line by as much as a millimeter. And despite its fairly wieldy size, it takes up a lot of real estate between the lane markings. The excellent, direct steering makes safe and accurate passage child's play. What gushes from the GTC is another purpose, and whether it's the active different steering, or perhaps its calibrations and tuning, it feels more tied down and on a mission than I remember the GTS Coupe to be. It's less darty on the nose, not as loose in the tail, perhaps more confidence-inspiring at a red-hot road speed with less edgy and, arguably, not quite as thrilling. But for A2B transit, it'll make as much taste as you ask it to. The last 10 or so kilometers before hitting Prescott, the road narrows then tighten up, which gave the optional 402mm/360mm carbon ceramic brakes a thorough workout. Though the power or accuracy on tap is impressive and they barely break a sweat. On hot mix, the GTC is a slop car, but it takes a surface change to some slippy or brownstone material to find some natural and safe understeer. It's its rear end, though, that's remarkable. On road, at least, it's tough to make it, but it takes the broken road or corner exit bump for the tail to shift even slightly, and it is so predictably and with just the faint flicker of the traction control light in the dash, even with the throttle pin hard into the floor. This level of ability is perhaps why you forked out the extra for the GTC version. And that's before you get the Ram top off-street, on track, and activate its ultimate race mode, which loosens the safety reins considerably and, frankly, too anti-socially for road. Or so I'm told. I'm also told the GTC Roadster isn't quite as visceral as the GTR Coupe. Perhaps not. But the flagship drop-top is clearly cut from similar cloth that imparts the purpose and focus that mightn't be categorically supercar but comes bloody well close for what is, essentially, the super sports car that's drunk red cordial. I swap into the lesser GT Roadster and retract the good roads for back-to-back comparison. And I came away from the experience liking the base car a little more, much to own surprise. Creeping out of Prescott in comfort, the GT is nigh on identical for tractability, general comfort and pleasantness. There's no dilution in vibe or mojo, feels equally the sport car on steroids even at a cruise, such is the showy nature of the engine, the refinement of the gearbox and the sense that it's ready for action stations at a plunge of the right foot. Sport Plus activated and diving into the corners, Its slightly narrower 255/35 front Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires seem to provide slightly more accuracy and bite on turn-in. Strange but true. But the big difference is the GT, with its passive mechanical differential, no rear axle steering trickery and 295/30 rears on an optional 20-inch. It's a give-and-take situation. On one hand, it doesn't drive as hard out of corner with unflappable GDC-like traction. But on the other, it's more playful, and therefore fractionally more fun, moving the tail around a little to point the car from one apex to another. For my tastes, I'll trade the former, and perhaps some outright pace, for more of the latter. Surprisingly, the GT's bi-turbo V8 doesn't feel 60 kilowatts down in top-end energy or 50 Nm short in corner exiting shove. It's also got a slightly different engine note, specifically more bark. It's a little less volume, perhaps due to the non-adaptive exhaust system. No complaints from the relatively modest 360mm steel brakes either. If anything, they're a little more progressive in feel and allow more accuracy at a brisk on-road pace. By being a little less focused on A to B expediency, the GT is actually a little sweeter to drive. And when the difference in outright pace, on road at least, is quite negligible, it's the GT that's making a slightly more compelling argument. At least, that is, for this scribe's personal tastes. Downsides: on the move, both cars can be caught snoozing a little to kick down for those sudden overtaking opportunities. And by nature of the cabin layout, nearly all of the center controls, including the infotainment system, are awkward to access because of their close proximity to the driver. You almost need to reach over with the wrong hand to use the dinky little transmission selector. But what might be a deal breaker for some buyers is the GT Roadster focuses so much on going forward, it's a pain going backwards. The low slung seating, the small rear windows, the broad rear hips, it's a right paint to reverse park either variant, and that's despite the very large rear view camera view on screen. Impressive. You bet. Our advice is to not part lease payments for the coupe without sampling the Roadster first. Further, don't stump up for the GTC without having a good hard look at the GT first. Having said that, the high-spec version does get enough extra goodies, outputs and tech to warrant a $55,000 premium. Watch for this pair to hit up late in the third quarter this year. Here's hoping there's a racetrack available on which to fully uncork the GTC locally.